discussion item C, we'll hear a report from the study committee.
Okay. And again, anybody, Gene was at the last one, he's not here tonight. But I guess if anybody else wants to add anything as we go, I think the first thing to remember as we have these discussions, and obviously these are difficult discussions as we move forward, is as a school board, as administration, if we weren't having these discussions, we would be negligent on our part as things move forward. There's no doubt that we are facing changing times, changing periods. For our district, the biggest issue is without doubt is declining enrollment. And when you go classes of 90 students in the 80s, to the 50s, to the 40s, to the 30s, to the 20s, and we'll soon be hitting the teens, and most likely even hitting less than the 10s or the teens in future years as well. That's very, very difficult issues for a school district to handle and deal with. And it's not fun for any of these people here in this room. It's not fun for any of the other 4 communities and those board members that are sitting in those rooms either. It's certainly not fun for administration either. However, we are doing our job to bring these issues to light and try to address it and come up with solutions to, unfortunately, a very, very difficult scenario and situation. So we're doing the best we can to communicate, talk, and get as much information out there as possible. Quite frankly, quite honestly, we're not that far along yet, and there's a lot that needs to be done and a lot that needs to be worked out. But I will guarantee you, as we move forward, we are thinking with kids first and foremost, and what we can provide them and what opportunities we can provide them moving forward. Because things are going to get difficult here, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. Things are going to get very, very difficult. We just don't have the numbers moving forward to be able to win that game. So, again, it's unfortunate that we're in this situation. It's unfortunate that we are going to go from classes in the 90s down to the 50s to the 40s. We'll barely touch 30 ever again, and then we're bubble years now will be the high 20s, and so those are things that we're not going to face anymore. So that's very difficult. And so I guess I'll read you a couple of things of where we're at right now with the decisions that have been made and where we're at in terms of moving forward. And maybe I should talk more about this in the study when we get to the study committee part itself. But one thing that we've said over and over again, we've created the website for people to go to with the decisions that have been made. We try to put things in the paper as much as possible as well. But one of the biggest debates we've had is how can we communicate to the people that aren't reading the website, and how can we communicate to the people that aren't reading the newspaper, and trying to hit all avenues of those people that are out there. So with all that said, here are at this point the decisions that have been made as a collaborative, collective group. And unfortunately, I think this has been labeled as the mega merger, which by no means is it a mega merger when you're talking really 70 to 90 students, and that's unfortunate that it's been labeled that. But anyway, decision number 1 is that students are the number 1 priority. These discussions are centered around students and providing students with quality opportunities. Number 2, and this was stated actually in the last study committee meeting, to move that higher because there's been a lot of debate that we're moving first graders and second graders outside of our town. That's not true. Elementary schools remain in their current communities and utilize existing facilities. Number 3, the purpose statement. We as a cooperative group strive to create sustainable, quality, and comprehensive educational opportunities for all students in the 5-school area. Meaning we look to address the issue now as opposed to addressing the issue later. Without a doubt, we can address it now, or the issue is going to come up again. And if it doesn't come up at that time, it'll come up in shortly after that. And each time you wait, each set of years that you wait, it's going to get more and more difficult moving forward. And there's no question about that. Study committees have agreed that option J of the feasibility study creates a sustainable, comprehensive, and dynamic educational system that meets the needs of students, meaning it provides the most opportunities to students. Doesn't mean it's the only option right now, but in terms of the needs of students, it provides the best educational opportunity for kids moving forward. The study committees have agreed that they would like to see Northeast Community College be a part of the discussions from the beginning to provide students with expanded opportunities. Northeast Community College can provide something to every student whether they enter the workforce after high school, attend a 2-year school, or plan to attend a 4-year institution. The Northeast Community College connection is a great deal for us. It is a once-in-a-lifetime type opportunity to have a college within a high school type of concept. Tremendous numbers of dual credit options, as well as preparing kids for the workforce. We'll get to the curriculum here in a little bit, but quite frankly, over the last few years, all of our districts have educated our kids to leave. And that's unfortunate, because right now, we don't have the bodies in our communities or in the classrooms, and we've educated kids to leave. Job retention is a priority, and is a priority that staffing changes will be done for natural attrition and professional advancement, okay? One of the rumors that we heard just, probably a week ago is that everybody would have to reapply for positions. That's not true. People that have jobs today, if you're a certified employee, you're gonna have jobs tomorrow in the new setup. Each of the 5 districts have acted to invest up to $10,000 for the continued study of the 5-school feasibility. This money will be used for costs incurred in the process, and that could be a number of things moving forward. Staff representatives and administration from each of the 5 schools, along with 7 members from the Nebraska Department of Education and a representative from Northeast Community College, met on June 17th to begin outlining a possible curriculum. A curriculum outline will be provided to the public in the future. Right now, it's still a rough draft. As soon as that becomes more of a finalized draft, that'll be provided to the public. The 5 districts will be establishing subcommittees in the following areas: curriculum and instruction, legal, architecture, investigative, and economic and labor. Each district will provide 1 board member to each committee, and the representative for each district will be established at the district's next regular Board of Education meeting. Subcommittees will work on a short-term time frame to research, consult, investigate, and provide the larger group, boards of education, and public with additional information. And number 10 then is the board study committees will meet on July 23rd in Plainview. All right, so that'll be our next established meeting there. So, any questions on decisions that we have at this point?
Is that meeting open to the public on July 3rd?
On what?
On July 23rd, is that
It
open
is
to the
not.
public? Oh.
It is not. And everything that happens in those meetings is published and provided on the websites and everything else. I do think that will become a subject topic too, whether or not we would like to open those up to the to the communities as well. I have a personal opinion on that, and I guess again, it's a personal opinion. I'm fine with that. There just wouldn't be public input at that time or anything else, because again, study committees are to do work, roll up your sleeves and work on the things that are out there. And so, you know, that's why these people are elected and part of that. And so, that may come at a later date moving forward. Okay, any other questions?
I do have a question, it's probably dumb, but you said that none of the teachers are gonna lose their positions. So you're gonna have 5 7th grade English teachers
Not necessarily.
in one school?
Now, some school, you know, for instance, if you look at our district alone, by the 16-17 school year, we have, and don't quote me on this, I'd have to look it up again, we have 14 to 16 teachers that will qualify to retire at that point. You know, that's by the 16-17 school year. That's not very far from now. And so a lot of it will take place with attrition as we move forward. And there could be some changes of jobs as well. But we have said that anybody that is a certified employee will continue down the road that way. Now, one thing is, and we'll get to that, right now we have almost 20 FTEs in the high school. Over the next 6 to 7 years, we won't need 20 FTEs. We're gonna need closer to 12 to closer to 10 moving forward. So what that means is we're gonna be going down that ugly road of letting teachers go, moving forward, standing alone. And so,
What is an FTE?
full-time equivalent.
Okay, thank you.
And so basically you look at it as 20 employees. We're not gonna need 20 employees down the road here, as our enrollment is basically cut in half, then cut to 20% of what it had been. So, so unfortunately, those are ugly decisions that we have to make moving forward.
When you say there's people that are getting ready to retire, though, wouldn't it make sense to let them retire and not replace them?
If that happens before, yeah. But that's in a perfect world in the content areas that you need it to happen and those types of things too.
I have one other question. How have we educated our students to leave?
I'll
You
get to
said
that
we-
here in a little bit too.
Regarding that July 23rd meeting, so who goes to that meeting that's not open to the public? The school boards do?
It is our, no, not the full boards, it is study committee meetings.
So just enough so there isn't a quorum?
They, well, yeah,
When
you're saying certified staff, Jeff, that's like, just your teachers, correct?
Correct.
So what about like all the lunch people and custodians?
We'll still be serving lunch here, we'll still be
No, I
maintaining
mean, like
the
if this
facility.
merger happens, do they get their jobs guaranteed?
We will try to do the best we can with it, and some of those will take natural retirement at that point too, so.
The only question I have that I would like someday to hear out in the public is, what happens to this new school system in 15 years when the population has continued to dwindle, where each individual school wouldn't have been able to handle standing alone? Now you're still gonna be 20% of what the population, student body population will be. What do you do with the whole new facility that you built that now has extra capacity?
Well, you plan for that moving forward, you know, and so that is kind of part of the plans as you move forward, is that you know your enrollment is gonna decrease moving forward. That is reality, that those numbers are gonna decrease, but what you're looking at is a sustainable number. You know, when we look at our numbers and you're talking 15, 14, 13 kids, is that sustainable moving forward? To be very honest, when these conversations started, you know, I know this is gonna be my 15th year. Since I've been here, we've been talking about this, and this is something that has not just all of a sudden come up. This is not something that's just happening today. We've been talking about this for a long time. We specifically talk more Creighton and Plainview someday. However, when you combine Creighton and Plainview, it's not a sustainable number. You're gonna go right back to the same situation. You're gonna readdress the same issues in a very, very short amount of time. This creates a sustainable opportunity moving forward, is these 3 to 5 schools moving forward. So, you know, I had an individual downtown say, you know, that today, he asked, he said, how many kids in class do you have? He says, is it right we have 50 or 60 kids in class? No, we don't have 50 to 60 kids in class. These are the numbers that we're facing moving forward. Kindergarten next year, these are now bubbles, all right? And what I mean by bubbles is they're high bubbles. You know, these used to be low bubbles. These are high bubbles. So when you look at our kindergarten next year, that's 24 kids. First grade next year is 21 kids. Now, I can't completely confirm St. Ledger's numbers. I'd like to say they're correct or close, because, you know, things change over the summer. For instance, you know, we could get a new kid tomorrow, they could get a new kid tomorrow. And so these things are going to change over time as we move forward. And this is if we started school today, which means, you know, over the next month and a half to August 14th, you know, these numbers could change a little bit. But our first grade will be 21 kids next year. Second grade, 15 kids. Third grade, 16 kids. Fourth grade, 16 kids. Fifth grade, 25 kids. Sixth grade, 23 kids. Seventh grade, that's your last 30 years right there. All right, so you have 30 kids in the 7th grade. 8th grade is 25 kids. 9th grade is 29 kids. 10th grade is 27 kids. 11th grade is 20 kids. And then the 12th grade is 27. K-12 total then is 298 students moving forward. I remember when I got here, it was, okay, it'd be nice to hit 500. Then it was nice if we could stay above 450. It'd be nice if we could hit 400. It'd be nice if we could stay above 350. You know, then we did start a preschool program, and so you counted those preschool numbers in there. And so then you bumped above 350. Now K-12, we're under 300 kids. And again, over the next 10 years, we're projected to drop under 200 kids. You know, that's the direction that we're heading. And on the other side of that too is, of course, these are the projections that we're talking about. These aren't projections here, these are reality. The other side of it is the projection that Jerry Ehlers provided. He's shown then in the previous study from '09 that he did, that he was off by a little bit, but we had less kids than what he projected out. And so we'll move forward on that. Preschool and junior kindergarten. So this is 2 grades combined next year. That's 18 kids. That following year then, the 15-16 school year, our kindergarten will be 12 kids. All right, and so that's what we're sitting on with kindergarten. Now if you go through the census, now this would actually include your kindergarten for the 15-16. Now that is all the way to July 31st. However, it was cut off right up to about a week ago is when we cut this off, and we've had 2 babies then born since, and so that number actually goes up to 77. And so you're looking at your census report of 75 kids total. Now you spread that across 5 grades, and I'm going to say be very cautious about 5 grades, because that's all those 0 to 1-year-old kids going to kindergarten that year. More and more kids are waiting to go to kindergarten when they're 6. And so this number is going to be high compared to what it really is. And so you take 75 kids, you take 6 kids that might go to private school, a couple of those kids are homeschooled, and this is just the minimum. Your average kindergarten class in the next 5 years is going to be 13.8 kids. And these are real numbers because these are based on the census. These kids exist. your kindergarten range, looking at those different age groups, and I reported on the high side. I'd rather be wrong on the high side than the low side. Those kindergarten ranges for those 5 classes, as small as 10 kids, and it very well could be 8 kids, as high as 18 kids, and that very well, that high could be 16 kids, based on those census. Now, of course, the next census after that, we don't know. Some of these kids, like I said, might wait until they're 6 years old before they go to school. That's what we're facing. Those are the real numbers that we have moving forward. And when you look at that, you know, you're probably fine through a few years, but then after that, you drop off dramatically. We need to be, as a district, prepared that we're gonna have to share things moving forward. We're gonna have to co-op activities like crazy. We can't burn bridges. We need to make sure that we have a dancing partner moving forward, because this district moving forward can't stand alone. It's gonna be very, very difficult to stand alone, especially as other districts align. And when you're looking at co-oping, you know, you're very limited that way too, moving forward. You know, Bloomfield's 25 miles away. That's gonna be a difficult co-op. You're really looking at Plainview. And again, you can't burn any bridges between us and Plainview moving forward on that side of it there. Any questions on the numbers?
Don't you think that by, you know, the people that are coming to the community now are coming because it is a small, you know, classroom community, and that's what they want their kids in? And if you increase those classes, that's gonna stop some of those people from coming back?
You'll still have small class sizes. You know, even if you had 70 kids in a class,
You're still gonna have 20
you're gonna have
class.
multiple sections. And so you're really looking at that optimal range of that 15 to 20 per section. And so you still have that small school mindset and that continued small school setup. Now, I will tell you, at the other side of it, people get pretty nervous when they look at their whole class being 15 kids. You know, for every fringe kid out there that might be in the western part of the region, or the north part of the district, or the south part of the district, that may leave, there's another family or another kid that will leave because they don't want their kids sitting in a class of 15. So your classes of 15 become 14, 13, 12 very quickly. You know, and those people are out there as well.
Right, right.
If that's the case, why aren't those people leaving now though? Because we're already getting to that size of classroom, so why aren't they leaving now?
Well, I think you'll probably see that moving forward.
Jobs keep us here.
Okay, projected high school. You know, and those of you that were here last week, or last month, excuse me, these are the numbers you saw. Left side, K-12, that is the projected enrollment. That is based on Jerry Ayler's. Of course, that is different than the real numbers that we just provided there. Jerry Ayler's for the 14-15 school year projected that we'd have 319 students. The number that we just provided out there was 298, okay, is what we're going to start with. Jerry had it at 319. Okay, so as you follow that trend, and really when you look at this, really what you need to do from the 14-15 school year to that 17-18 school year, just delete it out, all right? Because if we really truly do this thing, and we do move forward with it, you know, probably realistically, and you know, and it could change by a year or two or whatever, you're really looking at the 18-19 school year, being able to be in a new building and moving forward that way as well. So.
Is that the timeline you're pushing for? Because in the past you said there's been no timeline, so that looks like a 5-year plan to me.
It's not, Gary.
And that, so then why are you saying that then?
Because I don't want people to think over the next 4 years, let's not even worry about that, let's look at the 18-19 school year. That's the very early, and that could differ by a year before, a year under, could it differ by 2 years, who knows?
Okay.
Okay, one of the questions that came up at the last one is at what number can people actually opt their land out for a lower tax levy? The actual number, and I think I reported it as 65, sorry I was incorrect on that, it is 60 students, 9-12. I think I reported it as 65, 7 through 12. Actually at the point then that you're below 60 students in your high school, if your levy is higher than your adjacent district, they can opt their land out if you're on a 2-year override. By the year 27-28, we will be below 60 kids. And so there at that point, then people could actually opt their land out to a lower school levy moving forward. So,
Is that something, I'm sorry, is that something that you've been putting in the paper, what you just talked about with the land levy and all of that?
the levy?
Yeah.
No.
Or on the website? That's just one thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about, but I don't think there's a lot of consistency.
Okay. And I guess rephrase that a little bit, sorry.
I was just curious if that's something that you're communicating to the public.
That our levy will go down? Or
Or just this in general?
just this in general, I guess.
Like the magic number being 69 through 12, is that, are you educating people on that number?
No.
Then you have to have an override on your levy, right?
Yeah, you have to be 2 years and an override, which we're not at that point, and you know, that's, you know, as things get more difficult moving forward, you still hope to be able to avoid that, but that's kind of answering one of those questions moving forward there, so. You know, NCAA or NSAA numbers, again, when you look at those numbers, use the previous year to rank your next one. You know, of course, we lost 4 kids last month, and so that number changed a little bit in some of the classifications had they started today, you know, so there's some changes in there as well. But you can see our 7-12 enrollment, you can see our 9-12 enrollment. You go from, in 14-15, this next school year at 158. By the end then in 26-27, you're down to 83 kids, 7 through 12. And so when you just look at 9 through 12 alone, over that stretch of time, you go from 103 kids down to 61 kids. And your NSAA number drops from 76 kids all the way down to 36 kids. And so to me, the other side of it is, as you look at this, is your full-time equivalents. You look at for this next school year, we're 19.25 FTE for this next school year. And as you project down and get as close as the 2021 school year, already down to just under 13 staff members. And as you project down to 23-24, you're at 10.5 staff members. You know, you are no longer, once you become a one-section school, meaning you don't have 2 history classes, 2 science classes, now you don't need 2 English teachers, you don't need 2 math teachers, you don't need 2 science teachers, and you don't need 2 social studies teachers. Also means then your art teacher might have to also teach FCS, or your FCS is also doing music or whatever. And so then you start sharing those activities as well. Any questions on the projected high school numbers moving forward?
Well, we've got kids with, my kindergarten this last year, I think had 25 kids, and we had 2 teachers for them. And
But you try to keep your numbers in the elementary a little bit lower.
well, to me, in my mind, that was crazy, that one teacher could handle that,
You thought one teacher could
Yeah.
handle all that?
you know?
Well,
but-
you know, and actually, you know, typically the average for a elementary size is anywhere between 25 and 30 kids. Now, you ever handle 30 kindergartners in your classroom? That's tough. All right, that's really tough. And my sister-in-law, she teaches, and she had a class of 32 first graders a year ago, and high needs kids. That's difficult. We've tried to, you know, keep that number between the 15 to 22, 23 range. You know, it's really easy with 24, it's a split. You know, anytime you're between that 20 to 23 range, makes a difficult decision. Do you split the class or do you not? So, any questions on those numbers?
Just a quick question. So I'm sure all the other schools are going through similar projections where we're going down each year. And kind of back to Roger's question, we're gonna go out there and build a school, and yet the numbers are gonna continue to decline. And we're trying to make it sustainable, but what sort of efforts would take place to make it sustainable? Because if it was that easy, we'd be doing it now in our small towns. We wouldn't need to wait till we had a new school, that was a Class B, that has 90 kids in a class. I mean, what are those things to keep our community sustainable? Because if it was that easy, we'd be doing it now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is a unique scenario where you can, you know, you start from the ground up. You include a high school concept, you include a higher education concept. Also, we have heard from a couple businesses already that would like to be involved moving forward as well, to where they provide some of the learning tools that are needed in those classrooms. And, you know, of course, you look at Plainview, you know, I think one of the unfortunate things there is losing side number.
Absolutely.
You know, that was not just a Plainview hurt, that hurt Creighton dramatically as well, because we had a lot of people that were traveling there. You know, as you start tying into some of these industries and these businesses, you know, and as you're educating kids close to home, you know, I'm sorry, you let your kids go to Lincoln, you know, and great school and everything, but your chances of getting those kids back, you know, every time they move out of this area, good chance is they're not gonna come back. So the closer you're gonna educate them here, the better opportunity you're gonna have to keep those kids here.
I
And
think
so,
that's true to a point, but I think when you start having kids, I think they realize what they want their kids to have, and then that's when they start moving back.
If they can find the jobs
Right,
right.
right,
that they can live on.
Yeah,
right.
but that's where we need to bring these jobs back to here, to where, you know, if we do tie into some of these major industries, you know, there's not, maybe they'll put in a satellite business. That nice big building down there in Plainview is a great start. You know, who's to say that we won't build a, you know, a spec building, industrial park, and put something there as well? You know, who's to say they won't put something out by the area as well, and educate the kids close to home, and now you have an employee center there as well, and those kids might live in Creighton. You know, the other side of it is when you look at, you know, just a simple thing of going from 20 kids to 13 kids, or 13 staff members, that's less people living in your community. Now, we contract out between the 5 districts, we contract out almost over $1 million in contracted services, whether that's through a speech therapist, school psychologist, PT, OT, any of those things. Now, you know, if you put that within this area and you establish an alternative school here, now you're employing probably 2 to 3 more sped teachers, you're employing a full-time psychologist, you're employing 2 to 3 speech therapists, as well as an OT and PT, and those people are living in one of these 5 communities, as opposed to living in Hartington or Yankton, or, you know, for some of the other districts in Neely, or wherever else. Now they're educated closer, or they're living within our 5 districts as opposed to somewhere else. Because all of our contracted services, none of those people live here. Actually, most of them don't live close, and they're coming in 2 days a week or 3 days a week.
And that's the ESU people.
Exactly. You know, and you hire all those people, as well as save almost half that money alone by being able to do that on your own, as opposed to contracting it out.
My concern would be is you pull the school over town, what's it gonna do to the town? You
Well-
know, you pull the school out of here and a lot of your local businesses are gonna lose some business because people ain't gonna be coming to this school on, basketball night or wrestling night or football night. They're not gonna be stopping at the convenience store for gas or maybe something to eat or drink. You know, I think, if you do this, I think you're gonna see a decline in the town as well.
What do
I
you
might
think's
be
gonna-
wrong, you know, but I guess that would be one of my major concerns.